So if you guys recall, in my last Lorcana video looking over all the cards for Ursulas Returns, I finally put together, after I don't know how long, that there is one giant overarching story between all 4 decks. So I took some time, did some research, and finally figured out what this story is. It was actually a little more difficult to get the entire story than I thought it was going to be, because I thought everything was just written on the website, and some of the story is, but not all of it. The rest I had to piece together from videos that Ravensburger posted, from different fan forums, players' guides, and even some of the descriptions of the cards. But I think I have a pretty good understanding of everything that's happening now. I'm still fuzzy on a few details, and there's a few specific stuff I'm gonna leave out because I just want to tell you guys the overarching story, not every minute detail of where everything is, because we'd be here for a while. So first, we have to understand what Lorcana even is. Lorcana is like this land that is not part of our world, but is like this entire realm of imagination. Here in Lorcana, it has these giant lands called the Ink Lands that are all around it, but in the center, and the most important part of it, is the Illuminary. The Illuminary is this big building that was constructed by a dude by the name of the Creator, who we don't know who this is. My bet it's either gonna be Walt Disney or Yen Sid. Yen Sid because, I don't know, between Epic Mickey and Kingdom Hearts, that just makes sense. So the Creator made the Illuminary, and the whole reason for the Illuminary is to store Disney moments. It stores a lot of artifacts from films. It stores these things called story stars, which are actually moments of Disney stories that are actually used in the creating of characters, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And it used to be full of people called Illumineers. Illumineers aided the Creator in taking care of the Illuminary and taking care of the stories and things like that. But over time, all the Illumineers are gone and the Creator is nowhere to be found. Now the only thing in the Illuminary are magical broomsticks that are kind of just keeping the place clean. Hence why we see so many magical brooms throughout all the decks. That makes a lot of sense when you know the story. But due to unknown reasons, the Illuminary has now begun to call people to Lorcana. So now new Illumineers are being called to the Illuminary. Now Illumineers are basically anybody who collects the cards or plays the games, just anybody who's, reading the story. It's supposed to be very much like put yourself into the story kind of a thing. But to understand the overarching story, there are 3 Illumineers in particular that we need to know about. That is Shanzay, Martin, and Venturo. These are the 3 that we see throughout all of the different video clips, and they're more or less showing what's happening within the story. So when we see for the first chapter, we see Shanzay get teleported to Lorcana for the very first time. She sees the Illuminary for the very first time, and she grabs something called an ink caster. This ink caster is what you use to be able to make characters come to life. In front of her, she sees a big book. This is the lore book. What happens is a story star will fall onto the lore book and will create a character. The Illumineers can then use their own imaginations to change up the character a bit, or just have the character come out straight like they were from the movie, and you use the Inkcaster to bring them to life. These are something called glimmers, and glimmers are not the real character from these movies and TV shows. They're basically a duplicate or like an echo. They look and act and sound just like the original characters, but they aren't the original characters. And because of that, there can be more than one glimmer of a character around at a time, and they can all be very different. Because whenever you make a glimmer, there's 2 different kinds of glimmers you can create. Number 1 is the storyboard glimmers. They're the ones who more or less are exactly like you'd see from their movie or TV show counterparts. There's also the Dreamborn. Dreamborn are whenever the Illumineers, who are bringing the glimmer to life, invoke some of their own imagination and change up the characters in new and exciting ways. But then there's a third part called the Floodborn, but we're gonna get to that later. So as the story progresses, we have more Illumineers that are coming to the Illuminary, more people are checking out more stuff, there's all these rooms that people are checking out, and then one day, our friend Martin happens to stumble across this one room that has a crazy book, with a whole lot of seaweed and things around it, which you might have guessed has something to do with a deck later on. But he comes up and unlocks this book, which then sends this crazy flood of ink throughout all of the Illuminary. And as the flood goes nuts, it's doing a couple things. Number one, it is taking all of these artifacts that were hidden in the Illuminary for safekeeping and are now taking them all over Lorcana throughout the Inklands. And then number two, any of the glimmers that are caught in this ink flow, in this ink flood, are now being transformed in all different kinds of ways. These are the Floodborn. They're either Storyborn or Dreamborn glimmers that were then impacted by the flood and changed in unpredictable ways. Some were good, some not so good. So thanks a lot for that, Martin. Actually, I kind of am. It made some really cool cards. So then it was the job of the Illumineers to then go out into the Inklands, hence the third deck, and they were supposed to go out and find as many of the artifacts as they could before they fell into the wrong hands. And we do have a video about Venturo on one of his quests to go out into the Inklands to find things. He does find Scrooge's lucky dime, but fails to listen to Tinkerbell that there was one big artifact that he really should have gone after, and he didn't. King Trident's trident. Thanks for that, Venturo! And we do know from the cards that the spellbook from Fantasia was recovered as well, but I don't know about any other artifacts. That might be something that happens in later decks. I've really got to start reading these cards in the next video. And thus what happens in the fourth deck, Ursula's Return, when a glimmer that was being held within the book, an Ursula glimmer, came out, found the Triton, and found this crown, which then gave her strength and power to use other glimmers to make an army of glimmers that were under her control. So she's got a lot of other villains with her, she's got an army that she's building up, and our group of Illumineers, plus Mickey and Mulan and Ariel, all go after Ursula to try to stop her. So a big battle ensues. I don't know what happens in said battle other than Ursula's defeated. I think the actual playing of the game is supposed to be the actual battle, so I guess it's however it happens in the gameplay. So that's actually kind of cool. I think there's actually a card set that's specifically for defeating her, Illumineer's Quest. I already opened it and stuff. So I just wanted the cards. I didn't actually play the game. So that probably has more to do with it. I should probably pay more attention to it before I just, get the cards. And we even have some details on the next set, Shimmering Skies. This is gonna be after Ursula has been defeated by the Illumineers. So Ursula's defeated, and now there's a huge celebration throughout all of Lorcana. And as they're celebrating, some of the glimmers notice that there's giant pieces of the Illuminary just falling off it. So what does that mean? We don't know. We'll have to find out in the next deck. Intrigue! But we do see that Merlin remembers that there is an object that could help them. I don't know what this object is. I don't think that they've released what this is called yet, but it kind of looks like a medallion. So Martin and Basil go throughout the Illuminary looking for this medallion thing, and eventually they find this hidden stairwell that goes downstairs, and when they go down there, they do find it. But as they find it, there is a shadowy figure approaching the Hexwell crown, which is the crown that the evil Ursula just used to take power. So who is this shadowy figure? What is this weird medallion thing? I don't know. I'm sure these answers and more will come out when the next deck is released. But yeah, that's the whole overarching story. As Lorcana keeps making more cards, we will be making more videos and talking about them and figuring out this whole story. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! And big thank you to all of my Patreons. Without you, this channel wouldn't be what it is today. Thank you so much.